Hi everyone, I'm Elysia, a transport planner at Jacobs based in the Cardiff office. Thank you for all attending today. So today I'm going to discuss how promoting active travel as a feeder to the South Wales Metro. So what is active travel? Active travel is making journeys through physically active ways, including walking, wheeling, cycling and scootering. Data from the National Survey for Wales shows that 51% of adults walked at least once a week for active travel purposes and 6% cycled at least once a week for active travel purposes. So the Welsh Government have net zero targets by 2050. So this includes 63% reduction by 2030 and 89% reduction by 2040. So what is the South Wales Metro? So the South Wales Metro is an integrated public transport network including rapid bus services, trains, trams and active travel. It includes 4 key elements such as rail, bus, active travel and an integrated system. So the rail focuses on improving rail infrastructure for the core valley lines, which is just north above Cardiff. The bus is going to create an extensive system across South East Wales with an integrated ticketing system. Active travel routes will help provide more safe and direct routes for walking and cyclists, and an integrated system to help improve the integration between bus, rail and active travel. So the South Wales Metro is being developed by the Welsh Government and Transport for Wales, also known as TfW, across South East Wales to connect the Cardiff with the Valley lines. This will help improve journey experiences and public transport levels. So the benefits will include reduced carbon emissions, faster and frequent services, greater capacity, more stations, and integrated tickets and integration with other modes. The South Wales Metro is needed to cater for a growing region across South East Wales. So promotion of active travel. The antisocial effects from the pandemic has left us feeling isolated and often disconnected with the outside world. So therefore it's important for people to travel freely and sustainably. This calls for a need to address the following issues such as carbon emissions, the climate emergency, air quality, noise pollution, and limited access for services for those without a car. So this graph is produced by the Cardiff Transport White Paper, and it shows that over the years there's been a steady increase in active travel, including walking and cycling, and a steady decrease within car usage. It shows a promotion of modal shift away from unsustainable transport to more sustainable modes of transport. This graph is produced by the Transport Quality of Life and the Welsh Government, and it shows that there's an increase in active travel and bus and rail use, and then also a further decrease in car usage. So the Welsh Government aims to create a connected region across South East Wales by focusing to achieve the 7 wellbeing goals of future generation. The Welsh Travel Act was implemented in 2013, and it aims to make cycling and walking the most natural ways of getting about. The main objective is that people will choose walking and cycling as a means of transport and the more natural way to get around. The overall long-term goal is that people will switch away from cars to more sustainable, shorter journeys, and also to access public transport for longer distance journeys. The Active Travel Wales Act also supports recreational journeys of walking and cycling. This is because high levels of recreational walking and cycling journeys indicates a high quality route. So this slide shows a snippet of an example of an active travel network map. This can be found on the portal for the Welsh Government, and local authorities in Wales are now have to produce these maps to be eligible for funding for active travel routes. Routes must be coherent, safe and direct. I previously worked on a project with Caerphilly Council and I had to produce active travel routes for Nelson, which can be seen in the blue square. The aims of these routes were to ensure that people can travel sustainably within the village, and also, as you can see by the red square, this Abercynon train station, which is part of one of the stations of the South Wales Metro lines. So it shows that there's a wholesome approach to these active travel routes by connecting these small isolated villages in the valleys to then be able to access Cardiff. So this is an image produced by Cardiff Capital Region Metro packages for 2019. It shows as a whole the integration of active travel, public transport and all the different routes connecting Cardiff with the outer regions back into the valley lines. So multimodal travel. So integrated transport will encourage public transport use from improved cycle parking at stations, improved information and real live information time, and improved infrastructure that is safe for people to park their bikes without any criminal damage. So TfW is collaborating with Welsh local authorities to develop active travel stations around Pontypridd and Bridgend stations. So the social and economic impacts of implementing the South Wales Metro and producing more active travel routes within South East Wales can be seen from jobs, leisure and business. So going forward, it is essential to monitor the active travel schemes. So active travel schemes should be monitored and evaluated on what has worked well and what might need changing. Monitoring of the schemes includes comparing and prioritising scheme design operations, compare active travel schemes with other local transport schemes to demonstrate that the scheme represents value for money for all, and to review the operation of experimental schemes and to decide whether to make it permanent or not. There's been a few examples where, especially throughout COVID and post-COVID, that for example, in Cardiff, when the main castle streets, they implemented a cycle lane as a temporary basis, but now they've kept it as a permanent scheme. And also to assess the operation of innovative schemes to learn the lessons that went well and what might be improved. Successful active travel schemes consist of several elements ranging from transport, public health, well-being, city planning and the environment. With budgets already under pressure, the overall goal is to develop active travel schemes that are generally inclusive and command real public support. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Elysia. Certainly a topic which is very relevant to today's times and trying to get active travel and be more sustainable. I'll just invite if any of our judges have any questions to kick off.
I was going to ask Elysia, thank you for your presentation. Obviously, you touched on those real rural communities and linking them in. Have you, as part of the project or this piece of work, experienced much resistance from any of those communities, or have they been really on board with using active travel to start accessing the wider network?
So from the previous projects working with Nelson, honestly, there's a bit of a mixed bag because some of they implement the routes, we decided to do a one-way system that will affect parking of on street for residents. So there's a lot of support from local councils, but it's more with the residents. They don't want to have a one-way street down their road or have to park their car several streets away. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but overall it was positive feedback.
I say certainly one sort of observations or question, say from me, is that given sort of some of the deprivation we can see that can be seen up in the valleys in Wales, what steps are being taken by Transport for Wales and Cardiff to make it affordable for all people?
Yeah, so I know for currently now for Transport for Wales, they have 50% off on train tickets. I think they're trying to cap the prices of train tickets and have integration between different modes. But I think the whole creation of the metro system for people be able from north of the valleys to get into Cardiff, and then it prospers more jobs and they can have a higher pay to be able to afford the systems. But I know currently there's a review on trying to cap the train prices, especially for TFW services.
Yeah, Elysia, thank you for a very nice presentation. It seemed to be all about connectivity, but in particular with the focus on active travel. You did say that monitoring was very important to learn lessons. Are there any early lessons emerging? And if I may just ask at the same time, the weather often gets quoted in our country as a factor with attractiveness of active travel. But if you could comment on those two things, please.
Yeah, of course. So in terms of the weather, I think, for example, I think London really implemented good infrastructure for cycling, where they use the bike sheds and people can store their bikes underneath. So I think Wales needs to implement more that aspect in terms of not leaving your bikes out in the open or have more sheltered spaces. But in terms of monitoring the success of programs, I'd say I think Cardiff's probably more of the high standard so far within the southeast region for good active travel projects, but again, it's still quite disconnected. So I think that's the staple example where it's good implementing a route, but then you need further connectivity. You can't just have a route that just stops and people don't know where to go.
Yeah.
So I think we try to incorporate that within our project while working with Nelson and include the routes onto the TAF trail or the National Cycle Network and make sure the route leads to somewhere and not just make people just stop and don't know where they're going next.
Great, thank you.
No worries.
I'm just going to ask about, so the latest well tag guidance has only just been published yesterday, but I think it's been in circulation for quite some time. Just wondering if that's been applied on your project throughout, or like if there's any changes that might need to be made as part of that new guidance.
Yeah, so we used, I haven't looked at the most recent guidance from yesterday, but for our project, we used the well tag template to submit our report. So I know it's a very slimmed down version of a business case. Yeah, so that was applied for our project, but that was sent out for draft 1, and now we're currently in the process of taking out draft 2. But it was more emphasis on the priority of routes. So which routes are most eligible for funding, because that's the main constraint. Like authorities can apply for funding or local regions in Wales, but only the top routes would be eligible because there's only a certain amount of money in the pot. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Elysia. Yeah, like I said, it's a good presentation there and certainly a very relevant topic at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you.